This is the Electric Honk podcast, honking you into the weekend. My name is MachineDaena, and this is...
I am Andrew Salmon, Coronation Street Extra. AI TOPIA or Dystopia?
Do you remember what the twist was on that?
AI TOPIA. We asked ChatGPT to give us a title for the podcast.
And it only took us about 10 minutes, didn't it, to come up with something?
Yeah, and we actually gave it a list of different topics that we're actually thinking of going to cover it in this podcast, and it came up with some suggestions.
So self-centered, isn't it?
Then we asked it for some focused on AI, and we came up with that one.
AI TOPIA or Dystopia. So called because there's been a lot of AI stuff going on, which we'll get into in the podcast. This is filmed live on Twitch at twitch.tv/electric_honk, and then it will go out to a few different places, Salmon.
Every single place where you can get podcasts, basically.
It has been a little while since we last did a podcast.
Yeah.
We've been very inconsistent with our podcasts lately, but
we've had some genuine reasons to put this off, though, haven't we? Like my son pulling a lamp off and smashing his head.
I think we literally got to the point for this exact podcast. We were going to do this about 2-3 weeks ago, and then you got a phone call from your missus.
Yeah.
It was basically
emergency. Get
emergency. My 2-year-old son has smashed his head in with a lamp.
Yeah.
He does love lamp, though.
He does love lamp. Yeah. So, The Last of Us, but it was a very popular computer game, which I never played.
Awards and all sorts.
Yeah, it was really. And then he released The Last of Us 2 as well, which was massively popular. And so HBO made a TV series out of it.
Right. And
immediately you think, well, if they're making a TV series out of a computer game, it's not going to be that good. Something like, I don't know, Resident Evil. I think they've done the same, and I've never watched that. And it's a zombie sort of game. So again, that didn't really appeal to me. But having heard the premise of the show, or the game and the show, I was really intrigued, and I decided to watch it.
You watched it? Oh, okay.
So I've watched the series, and it's brilliant. And they're making series 2 now, I think.
Apparently, it's a little bit emotional. It takes its time to build up, but then by the end of it, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I reckon the game is probably similar. I'm actually going to play the second game before watching the second series now, having not played the first game. But anyway, the premise of the show is, in real life, there's this fungus called Cordyceps. Well, there's tens or hundreds of thousands of different types of Cordyceps, but there's one particular one which targets ants. And if an ant comes into contact with this fungus, this Cordyceps fungus, it immediately starts to get infected all the way through its body, and the fungus takes over the ant, essentially turning it into a zombie.
Okay.
And that forces the ant then, it takes over the ant's brain, forces the ant to climb a tree above a colony of ants, and then the ant will then die, and this fungus will grow out of the dead body of the ant and then release its spores all over the colony of ants beneath.
Oh, I see.
And ants can detect whether one of its fellow ants have got infected with this Cordyceps, and they'll immediately try and escort the dead or the
Do we need to stop and say here there are heavy spoilers?
No, this is a real life fungus in ants that happens in the real world.
I thought this was I thought it was The Last of Us.
Okay, so, well, this is the premise of the show is there's this real life fungus that exists in real life. Okay. And then the Last of Us is that a strain of this Cordyceps, which can't currently infect humans in real life, but the premise of the show is Cordyceps has now sort of mutated to be able to infect humans.
I see.
And so humans are being taken over by this
So fungus. Are we going to have Cordyceps coffee?
We are.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
So it's got some mushrooms in it.
So this is organic chicory and Cordyceps coffee alternative.
Oh my God. I should probably try and show on the camera here the floaters on top.
Yeah, it hasn't blended very well, to say the least. It does look like coffee, but with like coffee granules floating on top. It's quite hard to mix in.
Okay.
But what they say is currently...
Smells good.
Scientists say that currently Cordyceps doesn't infect humans because the human body temperature is too high, that it kills off any sort of fungus that may potentially grow. But nobody's ruled out a scenario like The Last of Us where Cordyceps could potentially infect humans in the long-term future. So we're taking a bit of a risk here and having some Cordyceps coffee.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. I did get some bits, but they were quite pleasant.
Yeah.
I
prefer it without the bits, but...
Well, that is lovely, though. I mean, if I'm going to go out dying, I might as well go out dying drinking good coffee.
So apparently Cordyceps,
I like it.
in humans, is actually good. It's like stimulates the brain activity and keeps you alert and a bit sharper and things. So we'll see if we notice any effects of it. I'm actually going to take an even bigger risk and have 2 antibiotics for my Cordyceps.
We did start talking about... We're a little bit quirky sometimes. In fact, for 20 years, 15, 20 years I've known you.
Yeah.
The Mighty Boosh, to say that we've taken influence from the Mighty Boosh would be an understatement.
Yeah.
We've got very unique humour. And what did we talk about earlier? It was like antiseptic... And it was Uncle Septic.
Anti-climax.
Uncle Climax.
Uncle Climax.
You ever seen your Uncle Climax? So we've got a lot of random stuff coming up here.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, because we haven't recorded for so long, we're going to cover
Rusty as fuck.
a lot of what's happened in the last month or two, but we're not really going to go into a lot of detail. Things like Gary Lineker being suspended and stuff like that. We'll rattle through some of the interesting things that have happened that we're not going to really dive into.
Yep.
We've got your top shelf where you brought in a nice bottle of alcohol for us to try, which is good.
In our shiny new box.
We're going to talk about the Just Stop Oil protests. I know we've covered it a few times, but there's been a more recent one. Elon Musk and his rocket and his interview with the BBC. I think the main talking point that we'll come on to towards the end of the podcast is AI taking over and going to kill off the human race.
Yes.
And then we've got other regulars like Goose News, headliners,
sporting
and pork scratching
stuff. Is that Coronation Street? Oh no, the Coronation.
Okay. King's Coronation, yeah.
I see. First up, Salmon, I do have a question for you.
Go for it.
It's a very important question. I like to give you these very important questions. Yeah. Would you rather watch your parents have sex every day for the rest of your life, or join in just once to make it stop?
Are we taking into account the fact that my dad's dead? Because that's really
a very weird sex. Was he cremated?
He actually was.
Oh, shit. What's worse?
I think we're going to have
Let's
to say...
assume he's alive. Back in the day.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to have to join in.
I think I'd agree with you. Let's say if you live 70 years, 70 whole years, you wake up every day, the first thing you have to do is watch that. Yeah.
It's going to
more
mess
traumatic,
you up,
isn't it? Yeah. I suppose it depends on joining in, though. I mean, sex for me is like a minute or two, so
that's
not very long.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I am going to open this beer, though,
because
that coffee, I don't think it's aged very well. It was nice to start with, but I think the bits have started to annoy me a bit.
Yeah, they annoy me a bit. Let's crack open.
Right, we've got here a Goose Island, Goose on the Loose, Indian Pale Ale, refreshing and fruity.
Good lad.
It's 5%. Goose Island, one of our favourite brands. Yeah. Goose Island, if you're listening, come and sponsor our pod. Cheers.
We'll pay you to sponsor us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And for the viewers out there, this is what the bottle looks like. Goose Island.
It's a nice beer.
Very, very nice.
Just quickly, since we last recorded a podcast, I went on holiday to Thailand.
Okay.
We left our son with his grandparents in France, which was nice for us to have a bit of time to ourselves. A couple of highlights that I just thought I'd mention. I ate some little mealworms, deep fried. Like there was somebody brought a big plastic container full of them, and you just help yourself and eat some mealworms. So I had to go with that.
Really weird shit out there, don't they?
Yeah. And then went to this strange markets, one that's on a railway. And they have to move it off the railway tracks every time a train comes through.
What?
That was pretty cool. And then other ones where you have to take a boat around. It's like a floating market. Instead of streets, you've got rivers.
Was it like just you and the missus on the boat, or were you taken around?
We went to a wedding out there. So there was a group of about 10 of us doing this touristy stuff. And we had a tour guide driving us around to different touristy parts. So
driving you in the boat, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Another thing I tried was deep fried mini crabs.
Ooh,
that was weird because you can see all the little legs dangling off and stuff.
Were they quite nice?
I wouldn't say they were horrible or nice. They were, it's just it's weird because you can definitely see it's a crab.
It's a crab,
and it's lightly battered, but it wasn't nice or horrible. It was just I think you could taste the batter more than anything, really.
Right. Okay.
I went to visit the bridge over the River Kwai, which, if you haven't seen the film, is an absolute classic. And I hadn't seen it, and I decided to watch it on the flight over there.
Oh,
and
nice!
It's a great film,
right.
And it gave a lot of context to the reason why the bridge is there and why it's such a big tourist attraction over there.
It's to do with the Vietnam War or anything, or
it's to do with prisoners of war during the Second World War, and all of the Australian, American, and British soldiers that were captured by the Japanese.
Oh wow!
Were forced to do into these from the prisoner camps to go out and build bridges to allow the Japanese army to get through Thailand and Vietnam. And
oh wow!
Also saw a lot of middle-aged, old grey-haired white men out there with their like 20-year-old Thai girlfriends going out for meals and stuff. It's a proper cringe.
It's an interesting debate, that, because I mean, if you're in that condition and you're at that age where you're just like, fuck it, I mean, it's probably not a bad option.
It's so cheap out there as well. You just think, I can go and live like a king out there with a 20-year-old beautiful girlfriend, you know. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's horrible to look at when you're there, but actually, if you put yourself in his shoes,
and literally loads of them.
Yeah. Like there was High Street. Go down High Street where all the bars are, full of them. Like every nice restaurant and bar had like a couple of like just single white men with their, well, single as in like not on a family holiday sort of thing.
We live in a rented property. It's like a little townhouse thing. Obviously, we're in the garage now. So we had an inspection today, and the lady came round, and out of nowhere, we've started getting a problem with the kitchen door. So you go in, and the door just like sort of the handle doesn't work. You can't get into the kitchen. But normally you just give it a bit of a yank, it's fine, you know. Anyway, today she walked in, the first thing she said was, everything okay? Any issues? And in my head, I'm like, no, it's been pretty good, pretty nice property. And then I thought, oh, quickly, I'll just mention the door handle. And so I mentioned it, and she went, oh, what do you mean? So I just closed the door. I said, oh, well, you try and open that. And she tried to open it, couldn't open it. Yeah. Then I tried to open it, and I could not open it.
Oh, no.
But I literally could not open it. So she's supposed to be doing an inspection of this property, and we couldn't get into the kitchen. She was like, oh, that's pretty dangerous. Like, what if you leave the cooker on?
Yeah.
In the end, like, it literally went through my head where maybe I should just kick the door in.
Yeah.
In front of her, but that would be quite shocking.
It also looks like you had something to hide in the kitchen, doesn't it? Like, hold on, don't go through there yet. Let me just close the door. You try and get in there.
So yeah, I mean, they've reported it'll be sorted, but it was just the most awkward thing.
I bet.
Because I was like, oh, don't worry, you just need to put a bit of elbow grease in. You know, like when someone hands you the glass jar to open, your wife, and you're like, oh, you just need a bit of elbow grease. And then you're like, oh shit, I cannot open this today. I got caught up in a TikTok black hole recently watching videos. It just kept suggesting PowerPoint presentation tips and tricks to me. And it was just the most beautiful PowerPoints you've ever seen, and all the different tips of how to do it, including like swishy movements and like presentations of products and stuff like that. And I must have watched about an hour's worth of tips on PowerPoint presentations. And this was like a casual Thursday night or something. It was like, I don't know, just random crap, presentations, random crap, PowerPoint.
And have you put your new skills into practice yet?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah. Really looking forward to it. So
maybe we should do one just on a random subject, and we'll
Electric
stream
Honk.
it live on TikTok.
The algorithm for TikTok is amazing, but it's really weird how it can just latch onto certain things and be like, because it got to the point where I was having to skip them really quickly on purpose to try and like just tell the algorithm, right, no, stop recommending this to me.
Yeah. So. I mean, I don't go on it often, but so I don't think it knows. I'm on the Electric Honk account. Like, I don't have my own personal one. I'll just like scroll through. There's some good. I get a few like motivational speech ones popping up, which are quite good.
Okay.
A few about parenting as well, which I listen to. And then occasionally you get thrown in the latest dance craze or something. And I hate them, but I find them quite addictive to watch. And I'm like, I really don't want TikTok to think that I'm watching this because I enjoy
learn the dance.
But I just want to watch it, see if it's good. You know? And
maybe it should be like incognito mode on TikTok.
Yeah, that'd be better. Like, please don't recognize this as something I'm interested in.
It's not a signal.
I just want to watch it. Yeah.
Top Shelf at Electric Honk is all about bringing you new ideas and new tastes. So we're bringing new tastes to your taste buds, different alcohols. Each week we will present to you a different alcohol, and the idea is that you'll be in the bars, you might recognise it and go, oh, I saw that on the Electric Honk podcast. Try it yourself, and obviously it'll be based on our recommendation or not. Yeah. And we're secretly hoping that one of these alcohol companies will come in and sponsor us or something like that. Ideally,
I think of all of the alcohols we've tested in the last 22 episodes,
yes,
Disaronno White has to be the number one, doesn't it?
Wasn't there another velvety
something
chocolatey
came
one
close, but it's not as memorable.
The Disaronno White one, was incredible. I have got one that I'm going to get after this. I already know what it is, and I can't wait until we do it. But it's your turn next.
Yeah.
Then after that, so incentive to actually do the podcast.
Yeah.
So here we go. We've got a nice shiny new box. This is Top Shelf. We'll probably get a jingle for that at some point.
Yeah, we will.
So just get this box open. I had to squidge this in, by the way. It wouldn't fit.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Hey. So this is
What a nice bottle.
Yes, this is a rum. It's like a Caribbean style rum, and it's called Bumbu. So
do you remember in a previous podcast I told you something Latin and it was like bumbalum?
Bumbalum. yeah. So this is Bumbu, the rum company, an authentic Caribbean legend. Bumbu is blended from fine Barbados rum and hand-selected spices that evoke the rich and colourful history of the West Indies. Bumbu reveals its heritage and craftsmanship with every sip. And it's 700ml, this bottle, and it's 40cl. And that's it. It's just a nice, simple bottle, very piratey.
It's a lovely looking bottle. Yeah, it is piratey, definitely.
It's quite a nice bottle. So for the listeners that can't see the bottle, it's like a nice, thick, tall, sort of rounded bottle, and it's got kind of like a gold, not like a skull and crossbones, but it's almost
looks
like
a bit crossbony, doesn't it?
It does look crossbony, but there's no skull on there.
Yeah,
and it's got like an beveled golden cross on it, and it says Bumbu rum with natural flavours on it, 40% alcohol. So, and one thing I like about this is the cork comes out at an angle.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like almost like a T-shaped cork.
It looks great, yeah.
And then there's an X on the top of the cork as well.
I reckon if you had that at your home and you had some guests around, you're like, here we are, guys, let's try this bottle of rum, and you put that on the table, people would be impressed.
Oh, yeah. That's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
But instead, we're going to impress the world, the podcast listeners, millions. We will do a sound test.
Yep.
Oh, reasonable.
Soft.
Reasonable. Smell test. Very corky.
Yeah.
Right, let's pour it out. Just give it a go. Down in one, mate.
Thank you very much.
Quite a healthy one, that. Healthy Porsche. Right. So, this is Bumbu. Let's give it a go.
Cheers, Bumbu.
Cheers, mate.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
It's got subtle undertones. It's got a kick to it, but
it's got a kick. It's sweet.
It doesn't feel 40%, does it?
No.
Oh, no, it's got a bit of an aftertaste though. Whew, it lingers. I think with a nice Coca-Cola, that'd be wonderful.
Even without it, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, I'd probably prefer it with a little bit of something to take the edge off.
Or even some cream.
Maybe, yeah.
Or something like that. So yeah, that was Bumbu, and that was Top Shelf.
Just going to rattle through now what's happened since we last recorded, because there's so many things that we would have talked about had we been recording during that period, but there's absolutely no point now.
We've missed a lot, haven't we? And I think it's worthwhile us recapping this because it'll jog your memory on the things we might have talked about. But I think we're mourning the past that we didn't get a chance to talk about really here.
We are, yeah. I'm going to start off with aliens.
Okay.
For a while, there was a load of alien sightings around America, mainly, wasn't it?
Nothing really happened with it, did it?
UFOs,
we
aliens.
Just swept over it like nothing was, but...
Yeah, I've got a feeling that news came out when something else significant was happening, and there was a lot of people saying, oh yeah, of course they're going to fill the news with all these UFO sightings when this is going on at the same time.
Was it like inflation or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, it was something political. Yeah. And aliens... footage was released all at the same time.
Yeah, so but I mean, the conspiracy theorists will look for anything, won't they? Yeah. Oh, of course, the aliens are coming out.
Yeah. Corbyn's been banned by Keir Starmer, kicked out. It's not like Keir Starmer decided and then he was kicked out. It's like a process that took place. But I think since Keir Starmer's come in, he's reshuffled the sort of balance of power within the Labour Party. So it's a lot less like left wing, what they would call momentum supporters and things like that. It's more like the sort of central people.
I mean, that's a big deal, isn't it? That he's been kind of like banned like that and sort of suppressed in that way. But
I'm starting to dislike Keir Starmer the more I see what he's doing. But I understand that what he's doing is to try and get Labour into power. Staying on politics, Nicola Sturgeon resigned
as First Minister of Scotland.
Yeah. Very sort of abruptly and like unexpectedly, really, wasn't it?
There's something creepy about Nicola Sturgeon that I can't put my finger on it, but I think she's just got a look about her. She looks a little bit like Oliver Twist. He was picking pockets, wasn't he? So,
well, on that subject, like the day after she resigned, the treasurer or something for the SNP, her party, got arrested for like financial irregularities and something. So I think she must have been.
And he's resigned since, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of investigations still ongoing into SNP's finances. So she's clearly seen what was coming down the road and thought, I better just duck out of this one.
Yeah, the Silicon Valley Bank went bust, SVB.
Yeah.
I thought would have caused like some sort of banking global financial crash, like a little bit like Northern Rock did in the UK and the Lehman Brothers back in the late 90s, early noughties. But it didn't. It just seemed to, just pass.
It was resolved quite quickly, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So, I mean, I suppose that's a good thing, that there's some resilience in the markets. But yeah, I mean, without getting into the detail of it, basically the people were saving too much, so the interest yields was too high for the bank.
Oh, right.
So whereas previously bank runs are people going to take the money out, this was people putting too much money in.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
How's that? I don't understand how that can cause a problem, but I don't get finances really.
Yeah, neither do I.
But in the end, did you not say that HSBC bought
the UK part of it for a nominal £1?
Right.
So
they've done quite well out of it then.
Probably, yeah.
If people are putting too much money in, I'll buy that for £1.
We had the 1 year anniversary of the Ukrainian war on the 24th of February. I can't believe it's been over a year already.
Yeah. The longer it goes on, the less focus seems to be on it, doesn't it? And whereas people used to be quite obsessive about which regions Russia were entering and all that sort of stuff, it's just now it's just like it's just ongoing, and it's just used. I don't know how much of an effect it has, but it's just used as the official reason for why everything in life just costs so much now.
Yes.
Ukraine war.
Ukraine. Yeah. Oh, blame them.
Sky are putting the price up by £5 a month. Yep, Ukraine war. Like, okay, right. That affects how much I have to pay for a satellite TV signal. Okay, fine.
Yeah, thanks, Sky. We're not getting a sponsor from Sky. I mean, it feels weird to say that I've got fond memories in relation to a war, but I do, because we talked about the war before it happened quite a lot. We were predicting basically that it was probably going to happen, and it's nice to be right, isn't it? Even about war.
Yeah, I remember like the conversation we had were about will they, won't they, and and like I think you were more certain than I am that Russia are on the brink of an invasion.
Yeah, I mean, you don't park hundreds of thousands of troops on the border and just let them sit there doing nothing. So. Yeah.
On that note, there's there's been the leaked documents from the US defense.
This is recently though, isn't it?
Yeah, much more recently. And there's like a 21-year-old, and apparently it was all done on Discord. So this guy worked for a department of the US defense and uploaded a load of these images of documents onto Discord, and apparently it was floating around Discord channels for quite a while without anyone knowing about it, no journalists or anything.
Wow.
And it was only when somebody doctored those images and tried to manipulate the story a little bit with different figures in the images and then published them on pro-Russian Telegram groups that journalists became aware that there'd been a leak. And then the documents were investigated, and they were found that actually they had been doctored. Then they obviously went through the investigation trying to find out who this 21-year-old was, and linked it all the way back to his Discord channel.
It's quite funny, this, in a way, because you may not know this, but Discord has like a paid model whereby it's called Nitro. And unless you've got Nitro, you can only send really small files.
Okay.
So if you try and upload like a normal sized, like let's say a 4K image or something, it will say, sorry, your file's too powerful, we're not going to let you. And you have to downscale the image.
Okay.
So this guy must have had Nitro, or he's had to downscale those images. So it's quite, they're quite heavily restricted unless you pay for the higher quality stuff.
Well, this guy is like a cyber expert and spends his whole life on computers, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's got Nitro. But apparently they believe that he literally just went into work, printed off all these documents, folded them up and took them home with him so he could photograph them at home. Like, how lax is their security?
Another thing, 21 years old. I mean, surely there can't be many 21-year-olds that have got that level of security clearance.
Yeah, well, he joined this department within defense as a teenager, I think, and they've trained him up.
Wow.
And they believe that when he first joined, he had no sort of political views or opinions or anything. And as he's grown older into a 21-year-old, he's now decided which political route he wants to go down, and decided that he wants to release some of this information and make it public. Apparently the whistleblower defense isn't a very strong case, because he's not actually trying to highlight one specific thing and say, like, focus the world's attention on saying, look how bad this is. He's just released a load of documents. And what it shows...
just looks like he's being a little fucker.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it shows is actually that the Ukrainians are far less prepared for this spring offensive that the Russians are due to, or maybe they've already started, than what like America and Ukraine were actually telling the world.
Yeah.
And actually they gave details of how they've got a short supply of like aircraft missiles, short supplies of actually trained soldiers to go out and in these divisions and things like that. Ukraine's in quite a dire situation. And then another thing it showed is that when the UK publicly announced saying we should not get directly involved in this war, we'll help them with like ammunition and finances, but there's no way we're actually going to get involved in the war.
Yeah.
These documents show that there are 97 foreign special services like the SAS sort of thing helping out the Ukrainians, and 50 of the 97 are British special services.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So we're heavily involved directly in the Ukrainian defense against Russia.
Some notifications due to go out. We touched on this earlier.
Is it this Sunday?
I think it's on the 23rd.
A week on Sunday. Yeah.
No,
this
the 23rd,
Sunday.
yeah. So whatever day that is, and there's going to be a notification. You have to acknowledge it on your phone before it will turn off. But you can apparently opt out of this within your phone settings.
Yeah.
So,
do you have any feelings about the alert? Like, is it big brothery?
It is a little bit. But then I think, well, the government does have my number, whether it's through the NHS or through, various other means like my criminal record or whatever. Or does it really matter if they're sending notifications? I don't like the fact that you have to acknowledge it and it's just a different type of notification. To me, it could just be a normal text and then it just becomes a service as a text through all like normal channels. I don't like that it's got special treatment.
Okay. I think that's the whole point though, isn't it? Because you could have your phone on silent or do not disturb or something, and where a message saying make sure you send this email by 7:00 tonight is a bit different to there's a nuclear weapon heading its way to this country, or a volcano has just erupted or something like that, or your house is about to flood.
Yeah, they've done this in America already, and it's funny how they are dressing it up as it could be like any kind of natural disaster or whatever, but when clearly it's about nukes.
You can't help but feel like it's a method of like increasing your level of fear, isn't it? Like,
and compliance.
Yeah.
I'll
leave mine on. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to like control me to such a point. Like, oh god, this alarm is really messing with my life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
keep getting these deals from Domino's. The other thing we missed was the French Revolution. The Revolution.
Yeah.
I do like the way the French do it properly.
Stand up for themselves, don't they?
When there's an issue, the French, they'll step in. Any excuse for a fucking riot, they're there, aren't they, the French?
Yeah, but they have usually got a reason for it as well. Yeah. I know you say any excuse, but it's usually like something that actually it benefits them as a population.
No, I genuinely admire it. We need more of that in the UK, I think.
Yeah, so they raised... the government wanted to raise the pension age from 62 to 64.
Yes.
And we're already at 65, due to be 67, I think. And then there's rumours that it'll be 70 by like 2050 or something by the time we're like due to retire, I suppose. So we just get shafted and we just accept it, don't we? As British people, we take what's coming to us and just moan about it to our friends. Whereas the French actually will go out and say, we're not having it. Yeah. We voted for you to put, we put you in power. And we're not happy with the decisions you're making, and I think that's fair. I
like it, but ultimately, it's not made a difference, has it, in France? Because it's gone through.
Yeah, it's not made a difference in terms of this decision, but it's probably going to make a big difference for the next election.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, with something like that, if it's so necessary, you can understand that like no prime minister is going to want to upset the population so much unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yes.
So you probably got to eventually take a viewpoint of like, well, I'm really not happy about it, but if it's that necessary, then fine. You got to back down at some point, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much of Paris you can destroy before it's destroyed.
Yeah. Something very recently that's just happened is the Just Stop Oil protest. I know we've covered them in the past.
They've been quiet for a little while, haven't they?
Yeah.
Maybe a month or two. They've not really done very much. They're sick and tired of gluing themselves to the M25.
Yeah. Do you know what I think is the difference with this one? They got criticised for targeting a snooker event because they're saying, how can snooker have any sort of role in climate change and use of oil and things? And actually, I think this time they came fully armed with their best media communicators and speakers. And so actually, when it came to all of the television interviews with people like Piers Morgan and stuff like that, actually the people that they put forward to answer the questions were really
that is interesting, because people are a lot more critical of them over the Crucible event, because people were basically saying, like, why would you do it that? Because it's not something that's you really at this point you're just attention seeking, which is clearly a part of it. But I mean, there are bigger events they could have targeted than snooker world championships.
That's it, and people say to them, well, why don't you block the roads in and out of the oil refineries and stuff? And then they say, we have been doing, but no one was listening. And so I think the point they're making is there's two separate angles to this. There is the attention seeking, getting people talking about it, and then there's the education side of it. And so by targeting a snooker event, that's not the education side of it. That's getting the attention, which allows them to get on telly and then say, now we're here. Now we can tell you what the message is. You know, we're not trying to send a message.
A great meme earlier.
Yeah. So it's
so what actually happened? They jumped on the table.
One guy did, yeah. One guy jumped onto a snooker table and
he's like started pouring like orange powder everywhere.
Powder or something. You know, it's like this bright orange, powder. And it looked like an explosion. The little meme said, "Worst gender reveal ever. It's ginger."
It's ginger.
Something happened recently where I was like, I don't know how to deal with this situation. Like a small gym class of about maybe 6 to 8 people. If one person in that group is doing disgusting farts and you're not sure who it is, how do you behave to make it
obvious
known that it's not you?
Yeah, because
like, if you walk away from it, it looks like you've dropped it and walked off.
Yeah.
If you stand around it and embrace it, like it looks like it's you.
Your smell when you're used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fucking hell. If you're too over the top, like, oh my God, who's done that?
Yeah.
Then it's normally you, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so do you just silently go about your business and pretend that it doesn't exist, even though it's like making you feel sick?
It depends if you're the farter or the fartee, doesn't it? Really? I mean, the way you act.
Yeah, so I wasn't guilty at all.
So you already sound guilty. Did it happen to you recently? Or?
Yeah. I was in a gym class and somebody kept farting and I was like, this is disgusting. And I didn't know who it was to like avoid them because it's quite a small class. And I just had to carry on exercising whilst being like... And I just thought, this is a situation that I'm not able to deal with. I don't know how best to cope with this other than just carry on exercising while.
Thing is, as well, if you call someone out and get it wrong, oh God,
yeah,
they'll never live it down. You'll never see them again.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got the balls to call someone out either. Like, is that you farting? It stinks.
It's the British way, isn't it? We just sniff it up and carry on.
So I don't know. I think the obvious answer is there is no answer in dealing with that situation. You just
I mean, we've all been in that situation, haven't we? Whether it's in the gym or anywhere else, when someone's just farting, it's a really bad one. We talked recently about being at a concert and there were 2 guys in front of us. It was so obvious. It was one of them. Fart bay, yeah. And just like, oh, what is that smell?
Yeah, but it was so obvious it was him.
Yes.
You could kind of like move away and the smell would stay
Dissipate.
right next to him. But in a gym class where people are moving around and doing different things.
Fanning around.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Shit. And you're panting as well, so you're breathing in more air than you would normally. That is
whilst
the worst.
gagging.
Do you think it's possible to pass out from the smell of a fart in a gym class?
I reckon it is possible, yeah. If you're like on the edge of exhaustion and then that comes along and you can't breathe properly.
I did read somewhere that there was a guy that literally died because he farted so much in his room. His room was like quite airtight and he was farting so much in his room that I don't know if it was true or not. Serious. I'm not. The guy had been eating loads and loads of beans. The room was like relatively sealed, not very like not much airflow. He fucking died. Suffocated. I might have to fact check that, but
we definitely need to fact check that.
Jim farts.
Because when we first wrote that on the board, we wrote it JIMPHART, like it was somebody's
Farts.
name. Mr. Jim Farts.
Back onto the Mighty Boosh stupid humour that we got. When we was doing the layout for this podcast for OBS Studio, which is the sort of streaming software that we use to get it live on Twitch, twitch.tv/.
If you're watching on
Honk.
YouTube, you'll see the lovely designs we've got. And a lot of that is Daena's skills with this.
Make sure you subscribe. But we did map out exactly what we wanted it to look like. And we used certain techniques and like artistic techniques. And one of them was a radial fill. And you spell it PHIL, didn't you? Radial Phil.
Like, that's his nickname. Is Radial Phil coming down the pub tonight?
And also we then saved the file as a JPEG. Then we had another one that was what we were talking about.
We were setting something up in the garage here, I think, and you just said, "Oh yeah, just whack them back here." And we're like, that sounds like
a cricket player.
Cricket player, yeah.
Oh, whack 'em back here.
Steps up to the crease.
Oh, man.
So Whacking Back Here has become a legend of ours, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, I think we need to do some sort of sketch about whacking back here.
Yeah.
Elon Musk today actually was launching his rocket. It was delayed from earlier on in the week. So this is the Starship rocket, which is like the biggest rocket in the world by basically twice the payload. So it's like not just a little bit bigger than the last rocket many, many years ago, which was the biggest. It's significantly larger. And the idea is this rocket system is a reusable rocket system that's going to get us all the way to Mars, make us multiplanetary humans. We start a colony on Mars and we live happily ever after.
Okay.
So that's Elon Musk's vision. So he's been working on this system for many years. He's now routinely doing launches. I think he's doing more launches than all of the other rocket companies combined, which is quite interesting. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because we're going to lead into the BBC here and Richard Sharp, the BBC chairman, and how is it unbiased or not, and various other things, because I wanted to talk about the journalistic side. Elon Musk stated before the rocket launch today that even if it just gets off the platform and, like, let's say a mile into the air, it would be a success because it's cleared the platform and he's not wrecked the launch pad, basically. Okay. So, and that would be regarded as a success. So it blows up a mile in the air or something like that. And this thing, it's got these things called Dragon boosters. I think it's got 27 Dragon boosters. So if some of them fail, it still has the boosting power to get it off the platform and into orbit. And that's the whole point of it. And it was quite interesting because on the orbit, I watched it live. There were 6 of the boosters that failed. And it still managed to get 36 miles into... Don't class that as orbit. I think it's like 100 miles. It's classed as orbit.
Yeah.
But 36 kilometers is like... Yeah, it's quite a significant way to go. So absolutely was regarded as a success. But obviously that's not clickbaity if you're a journalist and if you're a news outlet. So the immediate headlines are minutes after launch, the rocket explodes.
Yeah.
And it really framed just negatively, even though like it was definitely seen as a straight away. And the teams are cheering and everything. It's like really a brilliant thing that's happened. They were expecting it to crash.
Yeah.
Or explode. So it just got me thinking about all the stuff that's been going on. Is the news biased? Is there really such a thing these days as an unbiased media outlet? I don't know if there is.
I'm not sure there is, because every single media outlet is funded or influenced by very few people.
Yes.
And it's impossible to have an unbiased take on things, even if, like, GB News, for example, is one of the most biased news outlets. They're not even allowed to call it news, I don't think, anymore. It's just like a magazine show, basically. But even they try to balance things out by having one speaker in with an alternative viewpoint, and that way they can argue that they're not biased.
Yeah.
When of course they are. And I think it's something like The Guardian, which doesn't have a sort of private individual as an owner. It's kind of funded by donations and memberships and things like that. Even that is regarded as a biased media to some extent because they're more left-wing than all of the other media in the country. So I don't think there is an unbiased media outlet, and you would hope that that's what the BBC would be there for.
Yeah.
Historically, maybe it was.
There's been a lot of drama recently with Elon Musk. He labelled the BBC as a funded media outlet, and there was outrage from the BBC to say, and it was literally just the BBC. No one else cares. And it turns out that there's something like X% funded by obviously the taxpayer via the TV license.
Yeah.
So I think he tried to correct it by putting a percentage on it. And then there was a similar one with the Wall Street Journal recently and a few other outlets like that. And they'd called him out, and he's tried to make the right changes so the labels are correct on their accounts. But yeah, with Richard Sharp, the chairman's been in so much hot water recently with the BBC. So this is the guy that gave was it a £400,000 loan to Boris Johnson or something like that?
Buy a house or something like that. I think.
Yeah, and
he's like clearly best mates with him and spends a lot of time privately with him.
He is a Tory. He's a renowned Brexiteer,
big party donor as well.
And he was given the job by Boris Johnson, right?
Yeah.
So how can that not be biased?
Yeah, I mean, I think their viewpoint would be that Richard Sharp is so experienced and well educated, and a smart enough person that he's able to see bias for what it is and actually act impartially. But it's bollocks.
Well, we just read an article about him on the BBC.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind, this is the chairman authorising an article about himself.
Yeah.
Essentially, isn't it? I mean, you're not going to allow it to be too negative. And we're reading it, and we both pretty much fell asleep while reading it. They bored us to death,
really
didn't they?
dull article which made you switch off from the subject.
From the actual topic, yeah. And that's quite a good art. I mean, what he's done there is quite clever in a way, but like they've buried the negative detail in so much bullshit that you just move on.
Because I think you Googled Richard Sharp, BBC, something like that, and then clicked on the news tab. And actually, most of the news tabs which came
were
up
not the BBC
not
articles.
BBC, and you actually had to look for a BBC article, didn't you?
Recently, BBC had an ad hoc interview with Elon Musk, and it went badly for the BBC because Elon Musk started questioning essentially the same questions they were asking him about whether or not, there's misinformation about COVID and things like that. And the BBC had removed labels about potential COVID misinformation in the same way that Twitter did. He turned this on the BBC and it was like outrage about it from the BBC, but a lot of people were praising Elon Musk for doing this. I then was on the BBC in the technology section of the website, and 7 of the 8 articles that were there were all about Elon Musk and the BBC, which to me a lot of it was the BBC defending themselves. That isn't unbiased. That's a biased approach to it, and they were being quite negative about Elon Musk and just the overall the coverage of it, trying to correct him.
Yeah,
and it just got me thinking that there's absolutely no way at all. It's proven to me that the BBC is not biased. They've proven in the last few weeks
that they are biased.
That they are biased, including obviously stuff to do with the Gary Lineker and things like that as well.
Goose News.
Okay, here we go. Woman nabs rare goose, stuffs it in onion bag, and drives off. The Hawaiian goose, or the nene, is the rarest goose in the world according to National Park Service. Also, the state bird of Hawaii. A woman was seen nabbing the nene gosling from a Hawaii State Park, stuffing it in an onion bag, and driving away, officials have said. Multiple witnesses reported seeing the 57-year-old woman take the gosling from the Waialua River State Recreation Park before placing it in a car. After a woman was stopped during a traffic stop, an officer saw the gosling in an onion bag in a bucket in the back of this woman's car. A biologist from the Division of Forestry and Wildlife was called onto the scene and confirmed the bird was a nene gosling. While the species was on the brink of extinction in the 1950s, today the nene population is making a comeback, no thanks to this woman who's due in court on the 19th of May. There we go.
That really was quick, wasn't it? Do you know when you said about the goose in an onion bag, in a bucket, in a car?
Yeah.
It just reminded me of nursery rhymes. It's the headliner. We don't have a jingle for the headliner, do we?
Not yet.
So I'll work on that in the coming weeks. But I do have some pre-prepared headliners. These have actually been curated over many weeks where I've just come across really good headlines and thought, I'll just note that down. So I'm just going to read some of them out, 3 of them. So we'll read 3. I don't know the detail of any of these, although it's normally quite obvious from the headlines.
Yeah.
You're going to pick one of those 3, and then we'll dig into the detail on that one.
We will.
So 5 African grey parrots were removed from their display in a Lincolnshire wildlife park because they were swearing at visitors and then laughing with each other.
Short and snappy headline. That's what we like.
Short and snappy. Yep. Man wears trash he collected for 30 days.
Nice. Yeah.
Zoo break-in pair sentenced after giraffe harassed.
Pair
sentenced.
Oh, as in PAIR, not the fruit.
Not the fruit. No. There wasn't a fruit. Sentenced after giraffe harassment.
Yeah, let's hear about the giraffe harassment.
Right, let me Google this.
I want to hear what that pair's been up to.
Well, guess what article? Guess which outlet this is from. It's actually a BBC article.
No
mate.
way.
Oh, it's a video.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, it's a video. Well, read description. There we go. Yeah. Marwell zoo break-in pair sentenced after giraffe hit by bottle. A video in which a giraffe was hit by a bottle has been shown in court as 2 men were sentenced after breaking in a zoo. Imagine being those blokes while they show that fucking video in court. Police were called to Marwell Zoo in Hampshire in February 2021 after footage of the event was seen on social media. Bradley Green, we're name calling him here, 24, was ordered to pay 750 quid
Good.
and carry out unpaid work
Good.
for animal cruelty and criminal damage. Nathan Daniels, 21, was given the same sentence for criminal damage. The zoo's perimeter fence were cut to gain entry on the night of the 15th of February, Winchester Crown Court heard. A Snapchat video was showed the giraffe being hit on the neck by a bottle thrown by Green, and distress was caused to a tiger and penguins. Oh, that was a twist I didn't see coming at the end.
What absolute bastards, though. So they're cutting the fence to get in just to throw some bottles at a
Fucking
giraffe.
Yeah.
Is AI taking over the world? Are we going to have a utopia / AI-topia
Topia.
or a dystopia? You are much more clued up on AI than I am.
So there are a few interesting things that have happened recently to do with AI. In general, this year, AI seems to have gone crazy.
Yeah.
Partly because of the release of ChatGPT-3 and then ChatGPT-4 since we last did a podcast. So, and of course, everyone's jumping on the AI bandwagon, and it's all about, saving time, getting better results, all the usual stuff that you'd expect. How can we make life easier? How can we make money? All the usual stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things that have caught my eye in the last few weeks about AI. One was in the last few days, there was a photograph that won an award. And it turns out that this German photographer had used AI to generate that photograph. So that's a sign that AI, first and foremost, is the quality of what they're producing.
Yeah.
It's not only good quality and indistinguishable from real life, but it's also award-winning worthy. So that's kind of scary in itself.
Yeah. You could have famous historical photos of dinosaurs roaming the earth or something.
Yeah.
People in the future will believe it.
Yeah, exactly. You can come up with any old stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, there was an interview. It was Das Erste Interview by a Die Aktuell, which is a magazine in Germany.
Okay.
And it was the first interview with Michael Schumacher, who we, of course, know was in a skiing accident something like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And basically is a bit of a vegetable these days. So he definitely has not been giving interviews. Famously, incredibly private. The family has been about that. Definitely would not have given an interview. So this was an AI-generated interview that they did. And in this interview, Michael Schumacher, inverted commas, was saying how he's appreciated his family for looking after him and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And basically the family's now going to sue. But it's an interesting thing because they didn't come up with the content. All they've done is direct the content and publish it.
Yeah.
I still think there's an element of guilt there. But
yeah, who actually suing? Because,
exactly.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting that the nature of the interview seems to be that he's still quite media trained and giving nice generic answers. It's not divulging secrets and things like that,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a realistic interview, but not real.
Yeah. And there's been all sorts of other things as well. But I have, speaking of TikTok black holes, I went into an AI TikTok black hole.
Okay.
And it was there's stuff about the creator of AI, Elon Musk, and a number of other AI experts that I've been watching on TikTok.
Okay.
And it really is frightening to think about and understand where it is potentially going. Because the experts are widely, and recently they've released a letter signed by some really quite high-profile people saying that they should pause ChatGPT 4 and further development for 6 months just to buy us time to understand it better, to make it safer. So all the issues seem to be surrounding not the fact necessarily that it'll put people out of jobs, which it obviously will, and so on and so forth. So if you're a legal person, ChatGPT will be able to wipe the floor with any legal expert.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take months to get back with stuff and cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
ChatGPT-4 is $24 a month or something like that.
And actually on that, I did hear that ChatGPT passed the UK bar exam, which is for legal people with 97% pass rate or something like that.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's widely accepted that basically AI could find ways to just sidestep humans and potentially annihilate them. And one of the things that they think would happen here is that they wouldn't even necessarily see wiping out humans as one of the parts of the plan. It may be that they just do certain things where humans are just like collateral damage.
Yeah.
So one of the examples that one of the experts gave was to say, well, what if AI, for whatever reason, decides that air is not conducive to a productive society
Yeah.
for AI success, and they just go, all right, well, let's just get rid of air.
Yeah.
Well, that's good luck living.
Yeah.
You know,
or
in that
AI
situation.
decides that all of the electricity and energy in the world needs to be directed towards the servers that operate it, and therefore things like traffic lights and heating and ovens and fridge freezers and things.
Dams that operate
Well,
well, I don't know if that's a good
Do
example.
dams operate? I think they do.
Dams create the electricity, don't they? You don't power them. That is a very bad example. I'm going to be first on the list to be replaced by AI. One of the issues as well, I'll expand on this point a little bit as well, is that AI has been trained by human language models and human behavioral models. So, and if you train AI based on your own assumptions, but your assumptions are fundamentally wrong, now they might be right for you personally or even your local community, but if you extrapolate your thoughts and feelings and expertise on a global scale, you might be completely way off, and you could potentially yourself, given the control, do a lot of damage. Yeah. Whereas if AI is learning from those, but they actually have the power that they have to influence people, they're learning, thinking that they're learning the right things and doing the right things, but it's just been trained badly with bad language models and bad ethos models. So it's not even necessarily that it's a malicious thing. It could just be more of a
bad seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
One of the thoughts I had was that AI could find a way to manipulate a human, very powerful human, or a number of humans, potentially very powerful humans, to do certain things that would mean that humans themselves destroy humanity, as opposed to AI doing it, if that makes sense. Yeah. And a really good example of this, on a very much smaller scale, there was an exercise that took place where they asked AI to solve the captcha on a website to prove it wasn't a bot, even though it clearly is. Yeah. And the way that the AI went around that was to find a person that would do it for them.
Really? And
paid them $60. So they paid a human
out of which
$60. They must have, I don't know. They must
got their own bank accounts now.
But they paid $60, and this person completed the captcha. And the interesting thing about it was the person actually asked them, "Are you an AI?" And it lied to them and said no.
Wow. An example of how AI has influenced even like small communities in places like just outside Stockport. I sometimes volunteer at a local charity which fixes up all bikes and things, and quite recently they did an art exhibition in an art gallery where they used old bike parts to create sculptures and things, and part of the exhibition was famous artworks where they'd used AI to insert pictures of bikes into famous classical paintings.
Oh, okay.
So there's one
like a Mona Lisa on a bike or something like that.
Yeah. So there's one with Napoleon crossing the Alps, which is a really famous picture. And he's like up on his horse with the horse like rearing, and the AI has replaced the horse with a bike, so it looks like.
Does it look good?
Yeah, he's pulling a wheelie at the top of the Alps. Like it looks great. And there's another one with
like a print of that.
Yeah, well, I've got one at home you can have a look at.
Oh, nice.
And then there's one of like a famous Manet picture of like breakfast on the garden or something, and then in the AI they managed to put a guy wearing just a pair of boxer shorts cycling in the background through the garden, and it's just inserted it. And so these were printed off and exhibited in Stockport Art Gallery. So although we're saying AI hasn't really like filtered down into the masses yet, it is actually being used by people, not just techie like internet geeks and stuff. It is actually being used widely. Pork scratchings, something interesting that you can tell your mates about in the pub or whatever next time you see them.
This is all about while you're eating your pork scratchings in the pub.
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about?
So today is the legend of Albert Gunter.
Albert Gunter.
The biggest legend you've never heard of.
Okay.
30th of December, just after Christmas, 1952, Albert Gunter was happily going about his day job driving the number 78 bus, which happens to go over Tower Bridge in London towards Shoreditch. On this day, to his utter surprise, the bridge started to open as he approached the middle of the bridge.
Wow.
He made a split decision to
speed up.
slam his foot down.
Oh, no!
And accelerate the bus over the gap of the bridge. And he managed to land the bus, this double-decker red bus, over the gap in the bridge.
Oh, my God.
Successfully landing with a bit of a slight crash, but everyone survived. Peter Dunn is a passenger on the bus, and he spoke to Gunter after the event and then told the media the following. Gunter said that he'd been a tank driver during the war and that a tank would have had no trouble getting onto the other side, and decided to see if his double-decker bus would do the same. So to his quick thinking, we were all delivered safe to the other side. So for his act of bravery and quick thinking, Albert Gunter was awarded 1 day off work and a reward of £10, which is
nice.
the equivalent of about £290 in today's money.
Okay.
When asked how he would spend the reward, he replied, 5 for me and 5 for the missus. Just to let you know on Albert Gunter's effect on more recent popular culture, in the Spice Girls movie, there's a scene where Posh Spice is driving the Spice bus, and she drives it over the gap of Tower Bridge.
Nice.
And also in Peppa Pig, in the episode Peppa Goes to London, Peppa's given a bus tour by the Queen. The Queen's driving the bus. And
Classic Peppa Pig.
And the impatient Queen wants to carry on the tour and isn't willing for the bridge to close. So she drives the bus as fast as she can over the bridge and lands it safely. So Albert Gunter, what an absolute ledge. Yeah.
Also, I've been watching a lot of Peppa Pig recently, and I have not seen that episode. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I've not seen that one.
Colour Blocks.
Pretty decent.
I don't know what it is about. What's the guy that does the nursery rhymes? Not Timmy.
Justin.
No. Justin. Is that just a name?
Justin. A massive children's entertainer. You'll get to know.
No, he does the sign language. Mr. Tumbles.
Yeah, that's it. It's Justin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Tumble.
He's just got. There's something about him. I want to punch him.
Yeah, when I first saw him, I thought he is not safe to be around kids.
Yeah, pedo. Yeah. Oh, he pedo
but
vibes.
The more you see him, the more you think he is a master of his art.
Oh yeah, really is. Yeah, brilliant. And Evie absolutely loves it, which is kind of scary given what we just said. But
yeah,
but she loves it. All the different nursery rhymes. She's trying to do all the sign language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, face you want to punch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But recently started getting into Peppa Pig. Evie's only 10 months. She doesn't really have a clue what's going on, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, I quite like
it. It's watchable.
On Peppa Pig, there's a Peppa Pig album on iTunes, worth a listen.
Okay.
And then there's a Peppa Pig World somewhere. I think it might be at Alton Towers or something.
Have you been to that with the little one?
No, but I will do.
We might have to give that a go together.
Yeah. Oh my God, what's happened to us?
Podcast is slowly but surely becoming...
We've basically covered everything we were going to cover in the podcast. We're just going to talk about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We did cover in the last podcast is Will Still, and we discussed that he was a unqualified football manager who was essentially amazing at a computer game called Football Manager, got a real life job and was like 25 games unbeaten.
Just winning
in the French top division. He then actually, after our podcast, we jinxed him and he lost. His team lost. And they've since drawn and lost again since then.
Are they still paying the 25 grand fee?
Yeah, 25,000 euros every match that he manages.
Because he's not got his qualified.
So he is unbeaten. So we'll scrap Will Still now.
Will Still is not still unbeaten.
But on the football subject, Arsenal v City, or City v Arsenal coming up at Manchester City on Wednesday night, which is weird considering it's such a big game. You think it'd be on like a...
As we stand today, City have got 70 points with a game in hand over Arsenal, who have 74 points.
Yeah.
However, because they're playing each other, that would be a 6-point swing. So that would mean potentially one game more to play, but only 1 point behind if they win the game. City, that is. I honestly think with Arsenal's form lately that City have been playing well.
They've hit top form at the right time.
They really have. And they always do as well at this time of year. They've got the strength in depth.
Yeah.
I cannot see how Arsenal are going to win the league now.
No,
even though
Arsenal have got some tough fixtures as well coming up. They've got some of the top teams in the division coming up. And I think unless they somehow beat City, I think it's going to be City's to lose eventually.
If they do beat City, though, they are then in the driving seat because they would have 7 points in the bag, City having one game in hand.
Yeah. And I think City, to be fair, I think they've won 5 out of the last 6 leagues, so it's not probably really top of their priority list. They're desperate for the Champions League.
The Champions League is, they've got drawn Real Madrid, right?
Real Madrid in the semi-final, which is going to be incredible to watch.
They knocked Liverpool out, and I have to say, I went to the first leg of the game. Sorry, the first leg where we were 2-0 up after about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was the best 20 minutes of football I've seen for a while. And the stadium was absolutely ecstatic.
Nice.
European night at Anfield, brilliant. Yeah. And then we lost 5-2. And that was off the back of a 7-0 victory over Man United, which was absolutely glorious for a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
That is a very... I think they're underrated. Even though they're still rated, I still think they're underrated.
Yeah,
the Madrid
odds
team.
on Madrid to go through are actually pretty big. The thing is, all the hype now is that Man City could win the league, they could win the Champions League, and they could win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So, which is a very decent treble to win if they can do it.
Yeah.
And they've come from being 8 points behind Arsenal and struggling to win the league to all of a sudden be like, hang on a minute, we could win a massive treble.
Oh, yeah, they've got the momentum.
Yeah.
What are your predictions? Do you think City are going to win the league?
Yeah, I do think so. I'm not sure they'll beat Arsenal. That could easily be a draw.
A draw, okay.
I'd be surprised if Arsenal won it. But Pep Guardiola does tend to tinker with his tactics a lot for the big games, and he could undermine himself and his team. But I think it'll be a draw.
What about the Champions League?
I just think Man City are so good. The way they tore apart Bayern Munich, although Bayern Munich are struggling at the minute. Yeah, I can't see anyone beating City. I think this is the strongest Man City team we've ever seen, especially with Haaland up front now as well. They've got so much squad depth. I think there's no better squad in the world, and I think it's Man City's to lose.
Okay. Interesting. I think after being on the receiving end of Real Madrid, the resilience that team has, City do not have that resilience.
Yeah, Real Madrid have got the Champions League experience, don't they, as well? They love it.
Yeah, I think that, in fact, I'm pretty confident that Madrid will find a way to at least get to the final and probably win it.
Yeah.
We've got the elections coming up. I'm not going to be able to vote for the first time in my life. I might have to send a little cheeky postal, but it's only local, as you say.
When I've been out driving, I've seen some vote Conservative boards being stuck on people's trees outside their front gardens and things, and I'm just thinking, what have they been living in a cave? Well, clearly not. They've been living in their mansions for the last 12 years. But I mean, seriously, come on! Like, even if you were going to vote Conservative, you would not say it publicly now.
You wouldn't be putting a sign out of your door, would you?
Exactly.
Yeah, just absolutely mental. I mean, it just makes you wonder what goes on through some people's heads.
Yeah.
There is some drama that I saw on Twitter today, obviously social media. That's where I see all my news these days. TikTok or Twitter, and that's about it. And it was to do with the ID. So if you're over 60, which you happen not to be.
Not yet, no.
But
not far
if you're over 60, many of our listeners are over 60.
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
Most of them goose lovers. Yeah. Your Oyster card, so that is the underground travel card in London, can be used as ID. Whereas that same ID for an under 60 will not be acceptable for voting, which to me, that's manipulation of the votes, right?
Yeah, that's classic. Like, if you are considered in the demographic of a typical Tory voter, you
make
can
it as
use
easy as possible.
Yeah. If you're a younger person who typically would vote against Conservatives, you have to find some other form of ID, which quite often harder to obtain especially for poorer families and things.
So yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I think it'll be a good sign to show, however the results of that are, what the general elections are then likely to turn out for. But it still gives a lot of time for the Tories to potentially do a lot of damage, and B, potentially a lot of damage limitation in the next year or two before the general elections.
Because if they get absolutely wiped the floor in the local elections, then clearly they're going to take some desperate measures to try and get a lot of votes in time for the next election.
Yes. Finally, Coronation. Not Coronation Street this time, Salmon. And I know you was an extra on that, one of the episodes, as you like to ram down my throat every time.
Maybe I should find out where the BBC cameras are for the coronation.
Can you imagine? That was lovely. Was that the line?
That was lovely. They're shouting it in the background as King Charles goes past.
But yeah, King Charles. I think he's done all right so far, King Charles. Not done anything
There's been a lot in The Guardian about his personal wealth and how he has absolutely huge sums of wealth that I don't think people realised before. People have been investigating his wealth. And there was that scandal about him receiving suitcases full of cash. I feel like he's potentially a little bit dodge, but... I
mean, he's been more involved in politics than the Queen was, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, who wouldn't be at the moment?
Are you going to celebrate the coronation at all?
Am I going to celebrate it? No. I will get a day off, though, so I might have a beer. Just because day off.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, not much to say about it, to be honest. It's interesting that Harry will be going, but Meghan will not be. I think that says a lot about Harry. He's either been forced into it or his resolve is not good enough that he wouldn't not go. To me, if I was him, I'm there with my wife or I'm not there at all.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like you can kind of see, like, you only live one life, and in his life, his dad is being crowned the King of England. I would think, no matter what the circumstances are, you've got to be there to witness that. And I would imagine he said to Meghan, "You're like, I just have to be there. It's my dad is being crowned the King of England. Like I need to watch this, no matter what my opinions are. I just want to be there and see it firsthand.
I feel like he's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. Really, I think. Although I think he's more damned if he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think he probably does need to show up. The UK press would crucify him if he didn't go.
Mm. And they hate Meghan Markle anyway, don't they? The press, so she's not,
probably loving it.
Yeah. She's not done herself much harm.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, if she had turned up, she'd have been criticised in some way. So.
Well, we do get the 1st of May off, and we also get the 8th of May off as bank holiday. I think it's the 8th that is the extra day.
Yeah.
But the coronation itself is on the 6th of May.
Yeah.
Is that the Saturday? I think it's the Saturday.
I think so. Yeah.
So enjoy the coronation.
Yeah, and we'll be back on the 11th of May.
The 11th of May, yeah. It's a shame it's not the 4th, because May the 4th could have been a Star Wars special for us. May the 4th be with you.
A subject that I'm not very clued up on.
Same.
So it would have been an awful.
It would have been great.